Hey, it's Steve Cochran, and welcome to Anything But Politics in this wacky world in which we live. A world of ballrooms and bathrooms and things that only a giant orange man could use to make us all miserable. We bring you anything but politics. We're not going to talk about politics. We're not going to talk about Trump. We're not going to talk about Washington. I'm just going to give you a few stories that you haven't heard anywhere else because there's no time to talk about anything else in the news. It's one of the reasons we're in the mess we're in. So occasionally we like to do anything but politics. But before we start, allow me to do, in the great show business tradition, a blatant plug. I hold in my hand, this is all part of our expensive graphics package here at Monkey Run Productions and the Live from My offices. This right here is a picture of Mike Toomey, me, and Tim Benker. Why am I showing you this? Because we've got a live show coming up on November 15th at the beautiful Copley Theater, completely redone. Ooh, it's got that new theater smell. November 15th at 5 and 8 o'clock, Saturday night, 5 and 8 o'clock on the 15th. We're going to do a show called Whatever Happened to Steve Cochran? I've wondered. It's clean stand-up comedy. It's almost completely political free. It's 98% clean. And good people at Apt Electronics, our sponsors, have given me a giant screen TV to give away. Somebody there is going to win that TV as well. Oh, it's going to be a fine night. I hope you can be there. Get your tickets at ParamountAurora.com or always check in at CochranShow.com. It all links there as well. All right, moving on. Anything but politics. I hold in my hand a stack of news stories. These news stories have anything but politics in them. Let's talk. Business, the headline. Businesses are running out of pennies in the U.S. That's right. Since the Trump folks ended minting the pennies earlier this year, those still in circulation are showing up and smelling funny, but they're becoming harder to find. Most stores are now rounding their cash sales to avoid the penny completely. It adds up quickly at the end of the day, depending on your volume of business. This penny problem can cost you some money. The U.S. Mint officially stopped making pennies in May. The Treasury Department estimated shortages would start in early 2026, but they're actually here now. Meanwhile, what about Lincoln? Lincoln's on the penny. I know he's on the 5 as well, but Lincoln's on the penny. Do we really need to be taking tributes to Lincoln away? I mean, the man literally gave his life for this country. But now we're running out of pennies. I got a bunch of them. Anybody needs them? Just drop me a note at thecochranshow@gmail.com. I'll just send you all my pennies. I've got roughly, between my car and my house, I've probably got 6.5 million pennies. And I don't have time to deal with them. So I'm happy to share my Lincoln with you. Now, just let me know. Shipping, of course, would be a problem, and you're going to have to handle that. Item number 2 on anything but politics. Things are pretty tense right now. Have you considered screaming about it? The Scream Club. Scream clubs are popping up all over. You may have seen these anger clubs as well that still are around in most major cities, where for a certain amount you can go in and for an hour, you can break shit. You can bring your own stuff to break, or they'll provide it for you. In the case of the Scream clubs, there are certain risks, not limited. This is all in the waiver you have to sign. I acknowledge participation in Scream Club may carry certain risks, including but not limited to emotional distress, vocal strain, or accidental injury. Once you get past signing the waiver and you're in Scream Club, well, let the fun begin. Here's just one example. On Sunday, a group of about 12 people circled up at the end of the Washington, D.C. District Pier. And there, they did some breath work first. And one of them was a little bit anxious, and the group decided to drop out before they actually went in. But then they went into the Scream Club and came out, all of them, 4 in this case, saying they felt better because of the release of screaming. What a lovely gift for the holidays to give to somebody who spends too much time yelling at you. A free pass to a Scream Club. Scream Club started here in Chicago, where I am, by a couple, Manny Hernandez and Elena Sobolova. They decided to scream it out after a tough week, one December holiday period. The whole thing went viral. Hernandez is a fitness coach and a breathwork practitioner. Soboleva is actually her name. Said, it used to be such a taboo to scream. We know psychologists have said it for your screaming is good. So look for a scream club near you. Stop screaming at the ones you love and start screaming into the void. Okay, moving on. How about a collection of strange laws on anything but politics? These are actual laws, and I'm not making this political. These are actual laws that are on the books, I should say. For instance, in Oklahoma, 1910 state law stays on a book that says, if you in any way, shape, or form are secretly loitering outside a building with the intent of snooping or trying to hear what the people inside are saying, as it's written here in 1910 language, intent to overhear discourse therein, and to repeat or publish the same, to vex, to annoy, to injure others, you're guilty of a misdemeanor. Don't be a snoop. Don't be a Gladys Kravitz. Just move on with your life. By the way, it's also a law in Oklahoma that it's a $1 fine if you swear in public. Fuck that. That's item number one on strange laws. Item number two, we go to Massachusetts. Since 1848, it's been illegal in the state of Massachusetts to not only kill a pigeon, but to also frighten a pigeon. It's a law that's still on the books. You can be arrested for frightening a pigeon. Offenders face up to a month in prison, as well as a $20 fine. According to the Massachusetts Historical Society, the librarian there, Peter Drummey, said the law was a sign of the times in the 19th century to take care of the pigeons who were considered special, as opposed to the flying rats many of you consider pigeons to be today. Let's go to Alabama. In Alabama, a law as far as your wardrobe goes. Now, you may be thinking the cliche in Alabama is what? Overalls for guys and tube tops and Trans M's for the ladies. Well, I've been to Alabama. The people are lovely. I had a great time. And I won't have you making fun of Alabama. But I will tell you this, that there's a law in the books in Alabama that says if you dress up as the Pope, not just Halloween, but if you dress up as the Pope anytime during the year, you will be committing a felony. It is a felony to dress up as the Pope, and you'll be fined up to $500 and you'll be thrown in jail. And you deserve it. You know, it's fun when you're talking about anything but politics. Since we're talking about the law anyway, let's talk about stupid criminals. Always fun to bring the stupid criminals into play. There's a man named MacArthur Wheeler, just north of the border in Canada. He decided that if he smeared lemon juice on his face, it would make him invisible, and then he could steal things. It didn't. He was caught. Item number two, this would be in Portland, Oregon. Oh, Portland. Nope, can't say it, because this is anything but politics. A man demanded cash plus a giant bag of McDonald's burgers, and he waited while they cooked the burgers. Well, not surprisingly, a whippersnapper of a drive-thru employee called the police, who showed up to arrest the man while he was waiting for his order. Yeah, kids, if you're a criminal and you're listening to this or you're watching on YouTube, you got to move. You got to move. You can't be standing around waiting for burgers. You've got to move. I mean, I don't know how else to help you other than to tell you, crime, move. That's it. Next up, Omaha. This is a bit of a manual transmission disaster. If you don't know how to drive a stick, as we call it, well, you probably should stay away from him. But a man was pointing a gun when he stole a car. She got out. He got in. He figured out he couldn't drive a stick shift. After jerking down the street for maybe 100 feet, he stopped, got out of the car, cursed, and ran. She got her car back. As far as we know, the guy that couldn't drive the stick is still on the loose somewhere in Omaha. Meanwhile, back in Portland, maybe, well, no, that'd be politics. A man broke into a house. This is such a bad break as a criminal. A man took the time to plan a crime, and he broke into a house. Now, he thought people may be there. He wasn't interested in hurting anybody, but he would shake them down as well. Well, the house he broke into, a bunch of guys are around having a Well, they're having a poker game. I mean, that in and of itself is problematic because if you're a solo burglar and a bunch of guys are playing poker, they're probably going to beat your ass. Turns out these were off-duty cops in their weekly poker game at one of the cops' houses. Somewhere, the research by this criminal fell through. He was arrested right after he was tuned up. Portland. And, we're getting into the holiday season, and I found this story, and I thought this would be good for anything but politics. This is the origin of famous toys. How did they come about? All of us in life, I think, look at things that come up and go, well, who thought of that? How did they think of that? Let's talk about Play-Doh for a second. Play-Doh was originally a wallpaper cleaner. Now, I'm old enough to remember when I was a little kid in kindergarten, we thought it was super cool. This is before the internet by about 40 or 50 years. You could take Play-Doh and you could hold it down on a newspaper. A newspaper would be a paper filled with news. And you would hold the Play-Doh down on the newspaper and the words would come up on the Play-Doh. And I guess if you went in a bathroom and held it up to a mirror, you could read it and read them to the end of the Play-Doh, then you'd run out of space. Look, we didn't have the internet. Stop criticizing. But it turns out Play-Doh is a relatively simple substance, once sold as a tool to wipe soot from wallpaper. Before kids found out, it was a fabulous toy. How about Silly String? Remember Silly String? That's fun at parties. Silly String was supposed to be a sprayable cast to set broken bones. Sure, it's a fun way to make a mess. And in the 70s, the fun we had with Silly String. But an accidental misfire in the lab and the nozzle popped off the spray can, sending a string-like substance all over the place. And as sometimes happens in science, accidents turn into a new discovery. Forget about the sprayable cast. Bring on the Silly String. Fun still being had today. Are they selling? There's not actually anyone here. I'm trying to make you think my crew is large. Do they sell Silly String? I'm being told they do. Next up, what about water balloons? Who doesn't love a good water balloon fight? You get the balloons, you fill them with water, you throw them at your friends, they break, your friends get wet. That's hilarious. Water balloons are simple promise of a good time. But did you know they started out as latex socks? Think about the shape of a balloon. Well, sure, you could put a big balloon on your foot. Trench foot. That's a band I was in. Trench foot is a painful condition that occurs when a foot is exposed to prolonged wet and cold conditions, which leads to damage to your foot. Edgar Ellington wanted to find a solution for this long-standing problem, and in one test, he filled a latex sock with water and saw it leaking. Frustrated, he threw it onto a table, watching it explode and send water all over the place, and he thought, wait a minute, these balloons aren't good for being socks. They're good for being water balloons. And thus the tradition of the water balloon was born. Have some fun this weekend. Get some water balloons together and throw them at your friends, but not at your grandfather. I actually have 3 grandkids, and they wouldn't do that to me. Are they behind me right now? All right, moving on. Here's a headline that you don't want yourself to be the one they wrote this about. Henderson, Nevada, a Henderson man was caught stuffing stolen power tools into his pants. Hey, is that a lathe in your pants, or are you just happy to see me? He was arrested shortly before noon just this past weekend. Detectives were called to the Ace Hardware store. The dispatch reported that a man, later identified as Joseph Corbett, was concealing power tools in his pants. Deputies say they stopped him as he was leaving the store, as they saw a noticeable bulge at the front of his pants. Well, maybe he was just a little bit more blessed than the rest of us. The rest of you. Deputies say Corbett claimed he was walking back inside to pay for it. What was the it he was paying for? A Milwaukee Tools M18 1.25-inch router discovered inside his pants. Oh, the risk he took to put a live router in your pants. Hopefully it didn't have one of those remote start things that could misfire. Oh, and speaking of that, in November, the month we are currently in, And this is our final story on this little sample of anything but politics. November has a full moon that'll be amongst the brightest of the year, that'll be able to be seen in all 50 states in Canada and probably even Mexico. It, of course, is the Super Beaver Moon. I'll give you a minute. The Super Beaver Moon, the nighttime spectacle, is set to take place on November 5th. That's the week I'm currently in. I'm not sure when you're going to see this, but just know the Super Beaver Moon is a part of this November. Good luck to you and any beavers near you. And thank you, Moon, for all the good that you do. All right. Also, while we're here, I didn't get a chance to mention this, but this is Mike Toomey from Channel 9, myself, and Tim Benker. We're doing a hilarious stand-up comedy shows, if you will, at the Copley Theater in Aurora. Get your tickets at ParamountAurora.com or CochranShow.com. It's going to be a great night. You know what we could do, though, before we finish? I write for Substack as well. And Substack is a giant newsletter collection. You could write as well. If you like to write, it's probably great for you. And a lot of the time what I'll do is political. So now that anything but politics is over, we wrapped up with our Super Beaver. It's a pretty good name for a Marvel character now that I think about it. Or was I in a band called Super Beaver? These are questions I don't have answers to right now. But on Substack, I write something called Twit quite often, TWIT. Twit stands for This Week in Trump. And just to give you an example of the latest Substack This Week in Trump, let me just go through a couple of them. I'm not going to read the entire column to you, but I'll show you a few things. This is the headline: Trump tariffs could add $40 billion to holiday shoppers and sellers' costs, according to LendingTree. $40 billion. The president doesn't understand tariffs. He's never understood them. He's dumb. But in the meantime, there you go. That's our fearless leader. So, what'd you expect? Also, in my Substack column, we just started a new thing called the Hall of Shame. I'm certainly not the first to do the Hall of Shame, but this gives me an opportunity to honor so many members of Congress who are failing so miserably at their jobs. So the first inductee into the Congressional Hall of Shame is the man I hold here. This is the pathetic Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham, the senior senator from South Carolina, once the best friend of John McCain. But since McCain passed, Lindsey Graham's true colors have shown up. And those colors are not pretty. He is a coward, and he will do or say anything to not have Donald Trump pick on him anymore. And all he wants to do is keep his fat cat job in the Senate, whether he serves your interests or not. Lindsey Graham, our first inductee into the Hall of Shame. Moving on. There's a reporter from the Huffington Post who continues to get beat up by Caroline Leavitt and those who are juvenile in the Trump press office. And here's what happened recently. The writer from the HuffPost asked Caroline Leavitt, who actually made the suggestion of Budapest, Hungary, as a site for a potential Trump-Putin meeting. And the press secretary for the United States of America said the following: "Your mother did." The HuffPost reporter, knowing full well that his mother wasn't involved in politics, thought, well, Mom couldn't have done it. The insult to the reporter was followed by this line: "Stop asking your bullshit questions." This, again, is the press secretary of the president of the United States. You remember when Trump said he hires the best people? No, he doesn't. He hires people who are from the same jackass circus that he came from. Meanwhile, several others, including the communications director, not just the spokesperson, have done the same thing. You can't make it up. So in honor of that, your mama, I have one your mama joke for you that we used in the Substack column. And it goes like this. And by the way, I'm not a big fan of this type of joke, but your mama's so fat when she goes camping, the bears hide the food. Yeah, there you go. I mean, it's quality. Next up in the Substack column, this most recent column, was a story that could only be summarized by this shot. And by the way, aren't you impressed with my graphics? Right? Which of these don't belong? Is it the person who started our country, the person who saved our country, or the person who's killing our country? Donald Trump recently cited himself, as he often does, in saying that people think he could beat a ticket of George Washington and Abe Lincoln today, and they tell him that all the time. His imaginary friends do. He doesn't have any friends. You know what I'm saying? Moving on Substack, we always include, well, not always, but we often include these two idiots. That's Eric and Don Jr., the Trump boys, who have literally made billions of dollars since Daddy got back in to the Oval. Isn't that great? And do you remember Marco Rubio? Marco Rubio back in 2015, he thought, well, here's a senator from Florida, handsome fella, seems to be educated, well-read, seems to care about the people he represents. He might make a good president. Of course, he was smoked by Trump. And now he will bend down and shine Trump's shoes or do anything else he needs to do while he's down there. And for any reason whatsoever, because he desperately wants to be president. So, a guy who seemed like he would be a fair representative, who may have a legitimate shot, I should say, at being president, whether it's in 2028 or whenever his chance may come up. I have renamed him. He is Benedict Arnold Rubio. You see what I did there? Yeah. Little Marco. Yeah. And on it goes. So you see what we do on Substack in This Week at Trump. I summarize the stupid so you don't have to. I take the week's most awful stories and summarize them for you. I include snappy pictures like this of the saddest man in Washington. That would be the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, second in line of succession to the president, one of the most powerful jobs in the world. And all he does is put on his Trump knee pads and go to work every day. Oh, and speaking of the fearless leader, just to bring it home, as you know, he likes to reference the cognitive exam that he recently retook when he was able to name the tiger, the giraffe, and the elephant. He was very, very proud of himself that he could remember the tiger, the giraffe, and the elephant. That's one of the things that he spends his day doing, talking about how smart him is. It's all a part of the Live from My Office empire. You can read me on Substack. You go to substack.com or just Substack Steve Cochran. If you're on the Substack site, search Steve Cochran, and it's the same as the podcast and social media. Follow, subscribe. It's great. And let's inflate those numbers in the true tradition of America in 2025. I just seconds ago received one final photo. This is a picture of the finished Trump ballroom. It's very exciting. And if you look closely here, you can see that C-3PO and Goldfinger from the Austin Powers movie, they're already working there. Looks like C-3PO is a greeter, and Goldfinger might be a chef or possibly a waiter. The Trump ballroom. You can't make it up, or can you? Hey, I didn't get a chance to mention this, but coming up on November 15th, if you're in the Chicago area or if you're not flying, for stand-up comedy, it is the great Mike Toomey, one of the best to do it anywhere, the hilarious Tim Benker, and the funny bald guy in the middle. Mike Toomey, Steve Cochran, Tim Benker, live at the Copley Theater in Aurora, Illinois. Get your tickets at ParamountAurora.com or at CochranShow.com. I thank you for listening to Anything But Politics. Remember, Anything But Politics drops early in the week, live from my office late in the week. And subscribe and follow and do that voodoo that you do. And we'll keep it coming here in the offices that we call Monkey Run Productions. I really am live from my office. until I push the stop button. So allow me to say thank you to Ross Cochran, who produces this, and we'll see you next time on Anything But Politics, live from my office, or all the other places that I lurk for your dining and dancing pleasure. My name is Steve Cochran. Thanks for listening and watching. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to Live from My Office, a service of Monkey Run Productions. All rights reserved. The podcast is hosted by Steve Cochran, and it's mixed, edited, and produced by me, Ross Cochran. Steve is available for corporate speaking gigs. He would love to MC your event, and occasionally, he's funny. Thank you for listening. Head to cochranshow.com for more.